Hello students, welcome to the second lesson of the GMAT OG solution series. In this lesson, we have a data sufficiency question on inequalities. It's a medium level question, and we've taken this question from the GMAT official guide 2020, the diagnostic test section. It's data sufficiency question number 41, and you can find this question on page number 22. So let's see what the question says. If x plus y over z is greater than 0, is x lesser than 0? So the question here is asking you to determine whether x is lesser than 0. And there are two statements which are given. The first statement says that x is lesser than y, and the second statement says z is lesser than 0. Right? Now, as you will find on all the data sufficiency questions on your GMAT, there are 5 options which are given. Option A states that statement 1 alone is sufficient to answer this question, but statement 2 alone is not sufficient. Option B states that statement 2 alone is sufficient, but statement 1 alone is not sufficient. Option C says both statements together are sufficient, but neither statement alone is sufficient. Option D says each statement alone is sufficient. And finally, option E says statement 1 and 2 together are not sufficient to answer this question. So remember, in the data sufficiency question on your GMAT, it's not actually they're looking for you to solve the problem. There will be times when you will probably not go ahead and solve the problem, although it's advisable to do that. But the basic question which this type of question on GMAT ask you to solve is to determine whether these statements which are given, so statement 1 and statement 2, are they sufficient? Is there enough information from these statements to go ahead and solve for what is being asked in the question? So let's see how we can solve this particular problem. Right. So before we go on and analyze each statement, what we need to do is see what information is already given in the problem. So this information is already given in the problem, right? So the information that is given in the problem is that x plus y over z is greater than 0. So what does this tell us? Right. So if you have a fraction and it is told to you that that particular fraction is greater than 0, it means that the numerator and the denominator have the same sign. So in this case, it means x plus y, the quantity x plus y and z have the same sign, right? So both could be positive or both could be negative. So either x plus y greater than 0 and z is greater than 0, or x plus y is less than 0 and z is less than 0, right? So when you have a fraction which is greater than 0, it means that the numerator and the denominator cannot have different signs, right? They both need to have the same sign. So this is an important piece of information that is given in the problem itself. Now we'll go ahead and analyze each statement separately. So statement 1 says x is lesser than y. So what information does this statement give you? It means that the quantity x is lesser than the quantity y. However, x can be both negative or positive. It doesn't really tell us whether whether x is positive or negative. It just says that x is smaller than y. Now, in order to know that whether x is positive or negative, we need some more information about z. However, this statement gives us no information about the quantity z. So this statement is not sufficient for us to answer the question. Let's analyze statement 2. So what does the statement 2 says? That z is lesser than 0, right? So based on what we have determined initially when we started solving this problem, that if z is lesser than 0, x plus y will also be lesser than 0. So this statement means that x plus y must also be less than 0, right? However, even if x plus y is lesser than 0, x can be both greater than 0 or lesser than 0. So suppose if x is a quantity which is larger, which is positive quantity, and y is a negative quantity which is numerically larger than x. Say, for example, if x is 5 and y is negative 10, then x plus y will be negative. However, x will be positive. Alternatively, you can have x to be negative 5 and y to be negative 10, and you'll still have x plus y as negative 15, which is less than 0. And in this case, x is having a negative value, or x is lesser than 0. So both possibilities are there. So this statement alone is not sufficient for us to answer this question. Now, the third thing which we do in solving data sufficiency question is we combine both these statements and see if together these statements are sufficient to answer the question. So from the first statement, we get x is lesser than y. From the second statement, we get z is lesser than 0, which obviously we've seen earlier implies that x plus y is lesser than 0. And now if you take y on the other side of the inequality, so here you have x is lesser than negative y, right? Now, what we need to do is combine both these inequalities. So what we are going to do is add this inequality. So x is lesser than y. So we have here x is lesser than y. So what we are doing is x is lesser than y. So we are just going ahead and adding these two inequalities. And the second inequality which we have is this one, which is x is lesser than negative y. So if we go ahead and add these two inequalities, what do we get? We get that 2x is lesser than 0, which implies x is lesser than 0. So this is exactly what the question was asking you. Is x lesser than 0? Yes, if we combine both these statements, we can go ahead and find, or we can say with certainty that x is lesser than 0. So if we are using both these statements, 1 and 2 together, then we can go ahead and solve this particular question, and both statements together are sufficient to answer our question. So, all right. Now, if we go to the initial choices, in this case, we see that both statements together are sufficient, but neither statement alone is sufficient to answer this question. So it should be choice number C, which should be the correct answer. So you're in your examination, you should go ahead and choose option C, right? Okay. So again, this video is brought to you by EduAims. If you have any comments, suggestions, or questions on this video, you can contact us on the information which is given on your screen. If you would like us to solve any of your problems which you're having doubts on, please write to us on info@eduaims.in, or you can even call us on the numbers which are given on your screen. Thank you for watching this video, and we will soon come to you with a lot more such videos. Thanks a lot.